Hello and welcome to America Latina Story. We will talk in this program about the city of Tiwanaku, the civilization that emerged from it, its culture and its art. There are several candidates around the planet to run for the honor of being the oldest city in the world, because despite all contemporary technologies, the exact dating of archaeological remains is still very uncertain. Some put the creation of Tiwanaku back to 15,000 years before Christ, whilst others place it at 300 years before Christ. Others still, the more serious ones, specify that the site had started to be populated around 1500 before Christ, with an apogee between 300 BC and 300 AD, followed by a long decline until the year 1000, when there occurred a sudden disappearance of the whole civilization due to a supposed long period of drought. The Norwegian anthropologist and navigator Thor Heyerdahl of Kon-Tiki suggested that it was then that the entire population of Tiwanaku moved to the Pacific to people it, a theory that hasn't been proved. However, with 25 centuries of existence, according to the more moderate estimates, Tiwanaku remains the longest-lived civilization of the American continents. The same uncertainty exists around its exact zone of influence. Some see it extending to the Brazilian Atlantic coast and Easter Island, whereas others give it an area located more or less around the three sides of the current border between Peru, Bolivia and Chile. The same goes for its population, which is estimated between 15,000 and 1,500,000 inhabitants, according to the sources. All of this can be a little confusing. So, let us go back to what can be verified and has been verified. Tiwanaku is located in the Bolivian Altiplano, south of Lake Titicaca, one of the highest inhabited regions on the globe, at 4,000 meters above sea level, on a windswept desert plain with a harsh climate. The first written account of its existence comes from the conquistador and chronicler Pedro Cieza de León in 1549 in his book Crónicas del Perú. The French explorer and naturalist Alcide d'Orbigny was, in 1833, one of the first visitors to the site to bring back precise drawings of the ruins. The city was the capital of a powerful kingdom. It drew its existence from the intelligent management of an exceptional cultivation system known as the sucacolus. Sucacolus are raised farming platforms surrounded by a system of canals that provide both irrigation and temperature control at ground level in an area frequently subject to night frost. The yields from this cultivation method were impressive, with 21 tons of potatoes per hectare. A group of dignitaries administered the city and its area of influence. They lived in special quarters apart from the rest of the people. As in other pre-Columbian civilizations, human sacrifice was practiced in Tiwanaku. The sacrifices were performed atop a sacred pyramid-shaped building named Akipana. There, the victims were publicly disemboweled before being dismembered. Decapitation was also a common practice. But what makes the specificity of the ruins of Tiwanaku, in addition to their great antiquity, is the fabulous technical work of the buildings, constructed of rectangular stones perfectly cut and adjusted. An operation that today could only be achieved with high-precision machines. Some of these cuts are hollow and constitute particularly complex assembly parts of which we still do not know how they were made. While most of the stones and facades have flat and even surfaces, some blocks, statues and doors show very delicate reliefs. The original quarry was located 70 kilometers from the city, across Lake Titicaca. It is assumed that the stone blocks, the largest of which weighed up to 131 tons, were transported by water over the lake, then by a man-made canal to the city. Tiwanaku was a religious center devoted to the sun. In this, it was in opposition to the religions of the coastal areas which were devoted to the moon. Little by little, and for at least 2 centuries, it imposed its rituals and customs on neighboring civilizations and peoples. The artistic expression of the Tiwanaku civilization is very particular. It is expressed by an angular style, without any curves or volutes. This is particularly noticeable in the patterns of textiles. The natural shapes were systematically transformed into geometric shapes that remind us of modern cubism. Thus, religious representations avoided faithful reproductions. Instead, they were converted into geometric abstractions unrecognizable to the uninitiated, as if the divine should not appear in the profane forms of this world. The Tiwanaku site has suffered a lot of damage. Some used it as a quarry for their constructions, whilst others conducted archaeological excavations without really possessing the skills. Nevertheless, we find on the site the remains of several structures, all astronomically oriented. The Akapana, already mentioned, with its 7 superimposed terraces, forming an impressive ensemble 250 meters long, 197 wide, and 18 high. The Pumapunku, a large rectangular platform, the Kalasasaya, a large rectangular courtyard surrounded by high walls, the Kerikala, then a so-called semi-underground temple, and the Putuni, or Palace of the Sarcophagi, since it served as a sanctuary for the remains of dignitaries. The main monuments to be found on the site are the famous Porte du Soleil, which serves as the site's emblem, the Moon Gate, the 3-meter-high Ponce monolith statue, named in memory of the Bolivian archaeologist Carlos Ponce Sanguines, the frail monolith statue that, just like the previous one, shows tears falling from its eyes, and the Bennett monolith statue, the largest of all, with 7.5 meters in height. As we have said, the site has undergone many degradations over time, and recently sometimes hazardous restorations. However, whether it is because of its geographical location in a desolate setting or its mysterious remains whose origin cannot precisely be traced, all visitors agree that it emanates from the place a very particular and strange atmosphere that strikes the mind. Thank you for watching this program. Do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel. You will find in the description below a link to Dr. Garrett Ryan's channel Told in Stone, which I would like to recommend if you're interested in antiquity and the history of Rome. This is all for now. Goodbye.